A YouTube video popped up on my feed today, and it was Sinner and Alcaraz being interviewed on CNN. And when I tell you guys that I like these two equally, I mean it. How nice are both of these guys? And isn't it fantastic that they have such a good relationship with each other? I think it's just a phenomenal thing that's happening at the moment. I, quite frankly, can't believe it. I thought that there's going to be a situation on the ATP where we're going to have different slam champions all the time, and we're not going to see dominance for a long time after the big three. But it's a fortunate thing, to say the least, that we have Sinner and Alcaraz. And naturally, we want to see these two play in the final of the most important tournaments. That's what tennis is all about. The entire tennis world gets excited for those matchups. And I believe that it reaches even beyond the tennis community and we get new fans to the sport. So Sinner Alcaraz in the final is the best thing that tennis has to offer. And I've said in a previous video that one thing I don't want to see is a Sinner and Alcaraz semifinal, which can easily happen the way the round robin format is designed. And Taylor Fritz in today's match against Alcaraz didn't do anything wrong, but he still lost. And he had a great chance of preventing Sinner and Alcaraz of meeting in the final. Before I get into why Taylor Fritz didn't do anything wrong, I thought he played a perfect match from a tactical standpoint. I want to be honest with you guys. I watched Alcaraz and Fritz first. It came on at 8 a.m. And when I was done with this match, I was thinking about recording the video right away and skipping the De Minaur Musetti match because it is my belief that Alcaraz and Fritz are going to finish 1 and 2 in this group. So this thought had crossed my mind because if I release the video in the early afternoon, it has more chance to get views rather than releasing it like I have been at 12 o'clock at night, where it's going to be difficult to get views. Out of the respect for De Minaur and Musetti, I couldn't bring myself to ignore this match. And I waited because there was a break between Alcaraz and Fritz and Musetti De Minaur. There was a doubles match in between. And this match wasn't going to be over until the mid-afternoon or late afternoon. And I'm so grateful that I listened to my intuition because this match between De Minaur and Musetti was, in my opinion, the best match of the ATP Finals so far. The most entertaining match that I've seen since the Athens final, another Musetti match. But before we get into that one, let's talk about Alcaraz and Fritz. And in the thumbnail, it says Fritz did everything right, but he still lost. I remember the Wimbledon press conference after Fritz had lost to Alcaraz in the semifinals, and Taylor said that he always struggles to hold his first service game against Alcaraz. And I always watch for that first service game from Fritz. And even here, he was serving first game of the match. And there were 6 deuces in this game. But Taylor got out of this one. Interestingly, he had chances on the Alcaraz serve to break in the next game, but couldn't convert. And then there was back-to-back breaks. Both players ended up holding serve into the tiebreak. But throughout this set, it was Taylor who was the more aggressive player, and he was creating more chances to get into the Alcaraz service game. And in the tiebreak, Taylor played rock-solid tennis, but it was Carlos who was missing a lot of backhands. At 4-2, he missed another backhand into the net, which gave Taylor Fritz a 5-2 lead and 2 serves, on which Taylor delivered back-to-back aces. Taylor had an opportunity at 2-all in the second set to get a break on the Alcaraz serve, and this was the longest game in the entire match, I believe. It went over deuce many times. And when Alcaraz finally held that game, he put his arms up in the air as if he had won the whole match. A lot of players might struggle to hold after they have not capitalized on breakpoint opportunities, but Taylor, after that unbelievably long game from Alcaraz, he holds under a minute. Taylor was serving exceptionally well in today's match. 4-3 Alcaraz in the second with Fritz serving is where Carlos got his teeth into the Fritz service game and had break point. Fritz played exceptionally well and ended up holding this game. And at 4-all, Fritz had the chance to get break point on the Alcaraz serve, which would have been a high pressure situation for Carlos. And this was a window to the victory for Taylor. But unfortunately, at 40-all, he had a half-court forehand that he can put away with his eyes closed, but he hit it right into Alcaraz. He probably thought that Alcaraz was going to move towards the backhand side. He didn't. He stood his ground and hit a wobbly, relatively soft forehand cross-court winner. And instead of break point, it was game point Alcaraz. He holds this game, and up 6-5, Taylor Fritz delivers his worst service game of the tournament so far, where he made some uncharacteristic unforced errors, loses his serve to 15, and Alcaraz wins the second set 7-5. In the third set, Alcaraz was clearly the better player. He had opened up his game. It almost seemed like he was playing more freely. The stats do confirm that to be true, as I said previously. And he got the break at 3-2 and had the chance to win this set 6-2. He had 3 match points, up 5-2. But Carlos didn't get rattled from not taking advantage of those match points and held to love, winning the third set 6-3. A very impressive performance from Carlitos from a mental standpoint. In the post-match interview, Carlos said that he wasn't feeling the ball that well. In the first set, he wasn't serving well. But again, this is the new Alcaraz. The fact that he can beat a Taylor Fritz, who's playing at the top of his level in the first 2 sets on a fast indoor surface, a very impressive win from Alcaraz. And Taylor can be proud of himself. Aside from the Laver Cup, this is the closest Fritz has gotten to beating Carlos Alcaraz. As I said before, he had chances to go up a set and a break, and if it wasn't for that loose service game, down 5-6 in the second, who knows what could have happened in a tiebreak. And the great thing about the ATP Finals is that Taylor Fritz has a fantastic chance to make it into the semifinals. Both of these guys wanted to win this match really badly. Even though both might not qualify for the semis, it is such an honor and a privilege to participate in the ATP Finals. But one thing that probably feels really bad is if you qualify for the ATP Finals and you finish 0-3 in your group. So I think the will to win is tremendous to get at least one victory. And of course, there's prize money too per match that you win. So both players wanted this one really badly. I feel that this victory for Musetti was one of the most important ones in his career because, again, it is not only very important for players to get a W at the ATP Finals, but he's also playing at home. And for a lot of people, they have a memory of Musetti doing spectacularly well on tour in recent years, but especially this year, where he was clearly the third best clay court player in the world. And if it wasn't for that late comeback from Sinner in Rome and Roland Garros, prior to that, Musetti was clearly the second best clay court player in the world. In the previous season, Musetti had done phenomenally well on the grass, reaching the Queen's final and the Wimbledon semifinal. But what some of you might not know is that there are some issues in the Musetti game that have nothing to do with hard courts or clay courts. I do believe that Musetti has a mental block when it comes to finals. Musetti won 2 ATP titles in 2022. He actually beat Alcaraz in the Hamburg final, and then he won a ATP 250 in Naples by beating Berrettini in the final. But if we look at Musetti's 2024 season, we're going to see some interesting things. And you might not be aware that he actually played a couple of challengers in the 24 season on clay. As already said, in 2024, he was in the final of Queens where he lost to Tommy Paul. But then he went to Umag, which is a clay court ATP 250. And here he lost 7-6 in the third to Cerundolo. Later that year in Chengdu on hard court, which is a ATP 250, he lost to Shang in straight sets in the final. And then, of course, this season, we remember the final that he played against Alcaraz in Monte Carlo, where he won the first set and then got injured early in the second. And again, just like last year, he made the final in Chengdu, and this time he played Tabilo and had 2 match points at 6-5 in the third set, only losing again 7-6 in the third set. The second time this has happened to him at an ATP 250 final. And of course, a very recent match against Novak Djokovic in the final of Athens, where Lorenzo had many chances to win this match. He lost 7-5 in the third. I equate Musetti being able to win a match at the ATP Finals to winning a ATP title, maybe a 250. I do think that it's of the same importance for Musetti. You can see based on his reactions after the match how much this victory meant to him. And the beautiful thing about the game of tennis is that it's a fair game. I don't believe that players are always unlucky. Of course, somebody can have a mental block in certain circumstances, for example, making the finals and getting a little bit nervous, a little bit tight. But I do also believe that if you put in a lot of work and if you try to understand what you're doing wrong in those circumstances and you expose yourself to those situations as often as possible, you can overcome these issues independent of your level. And in essence, tennis is a fair game because often players don't take into account matches that they won that they should have lost, and they always focus on the matches that they lost that they should have won. And the beautiful thing about this match against Alex De Minaur, even though it was a very painful one to lose for Alex, Musetti should have lost this one, but he ended up winning it. And again, I think this is one of the most important victories in his career. 5-all in the first set, Musetti breaks the De Minaur serve and then holds, winning the first set 7-5. In the second set, De Minaur breaks at 4-3 and serves out the set 6-3. And first game of the third, Alex breaks Lorenzo's serve and holds all the way up to 5-4 in that third set. And up to that point, the level of tennis that these guys played was spectacular. There was one rally in particular that was one of the best ones in the whole tournament and had both players on the ground afterwards. If you want to find this one, if you watch this match back, it was 4-3 on De Minaur's serve, 30-all, and it was just a brutal rally. And it shows you, not only in this rally, but through the entirety of this match, how good of a defender Musetti is. Not only can he hit winners from very defensive situations, but he also saves so many balls and just pops them up and makes the other guy play. And on this particular point, it was one of those scenarios where both guys were ripping the ball and moving the ball side to side. And Alex got the upper hand in the rally and started attacking Lorenzo. And Lorenzo popped one ball up that he barely got to. And it was such a good defensive lob where Alex made contact a little bit behind his head, ended up losing his balance as he landed, fell on the ground. And Lorenzo fell on the ground as well from exhaustion. Tough moment from a physical standpoint, but a beautiful moment because the crowd was going crazy. The atmosphere was insane, and these guys were giving it all out there on the court. Both players held all the way up to 5-4 with De Minaur serving, and it is here where Alex got a little bit tight. At 30-15, he came to the net off a good approach shot, and he had the entire court open to put away a backhand volley, or at least to put it into the corner where Musetti had to run for it and hit a running passing shot, but he mishit this volley. You could see that he was a little bit twitchy on it, maybe a little bit tight, and he hit that volley right down the middle of the court. Musetti hits a perfect lob, and Alex displayed how unbelievably fast he is and ran down a topspin lob. Topspin lobs are so difficult, if not impossible, to run down, but he somehow got this ball back in play, and Musetti put the volley away, and it's breakpoint Musetti. And it is here where I was very impressed with Lorenzo because he wasn't tight at all. He ripped an inside-out forehand as hard as he could and converted his breakpoint chance. He holds serve, is up 6-5, and he fights very hard in the De Minaur service game and manages to get match point. And again, just like many other times during this match, he's hitting shots from these crazy locations in the court. And on this particular one, it's a running forehand where he's very far back in the court and he hits a clean cross-court forehand winner and wins the third set, 7-5. A spectacular performance from both Alex and Lorenzo. And the scenarios are a little bit different for both for the last round-robin match because Alex has to get the W against Fritz if he wants to have any chances, mathematically speaking, to make it to the semis. I'll let you guys do the math down in the comments. And Lorenzo has a tough match against Alcaraz indoors, but he can go into this one playing freely. Now, it's always easier said than done when people say, hey, you can play freely just because you're playing somebody that's ranked way higher than you. In reality, there's no such thing. You always feel that tension, that pressure. But I do think that Lorenzo, by winning this one match at the ATP Finals, has fulfilled a lifetime goal potentially, because again, he's playing at home and it was his dream to qualify for the ATP Finals. And he barely managed to do that because he lost to Djokovic. And if Djokovic wouldn't have pulled out, Lorenzo would have been out of this tournament. So this match that he's playing now against Alcaraz is just a bonus, and he can go in there and let it rip. I don't think it's possible for Lorenzo to take out Alcaraz because we're dealing with an improved version of Alcaraz who is highly capable of delivering phenomenal results on fast surfaces. I think he's proven that by taking out Fritz indoors. This was a very important win for Alcaraz, and for those reasons, I do think that he's going to finish number one in this group. And who's going to take the second spot? It's most likely going to be Taylor Fritz. I'm going to be covering the ATP Finals, so make sure that you subscribe to Intuitive Tennis if you haven't yet. Hit like on this video. Also, become a member at Intuitive Tennis Premium by clicking the link in the pinned comment. I will see you guys in the next video.